Williston. I'm in either my 6th or 7th year, to be honest with you. I can't remember, of teaching kindergarten. And prior to kindergarten, I've also been a 1st through 4th grade teacher. So thank you again for being here, and we'll get started. So I have a couple of helpers with me today also. These are 2 of my kindergarten students. Would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Noah.
My name's Roman.
And they are, if you're interested in seeing what we're up to, they are at Vermont, spelled out KKids123. That is our class Twitter account.
It's a Vermont.
Yeah, at Vermont, they know that. It's right up there on the screen. On the cards that Romay and Noah handed you, there is a little QR code. This was a whole new thing. I knew nothing about this until just over a week ago. And now I think these are pretty cool. So if you have an iPhone, an iPad, or whatever kind of a device, and you download a QR code reader, this will take you to my Symbaloo, and I have many, but the Symbaloo that it will take you to is the one that has a collection of resources of projects and things that I have done with the children. It also, on the Symbaloo, you will see a collection of the apps that I am presently using inside and outside of my classroom with my students as well as all of our blogs and all of our wikis. All right, and also there's a tiny URL here if you're interested, if you want to follow along with the presentation as well. So one of the really great things that I love about social media, and when I first got started on this a few years ago, is this whole idea, for me what made it really click is the whole idea of conversations. And in kindergarten, working in any classroom, but especially kindergarten, for me, it was a whole new world. When I first started kindergarten, teaching kindergarten like 7 or 8 years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. But it's also amazing. It is by far the most fun thing I've ever done in my life educationally, and yet the most hard. But one of the things that I do know a lot, even about children, is they like to have conversations. And in kindergarten, conversations are fluid all day long, in and out of everything that we do. Romay and Noah can talk a little bit about that too later. So one of the things that I tried to capitalize on when I was thinking about using social media and other synchronous and asynchronous tools inside and outside of my classroom is how can I enrich the conversations that my students are having. And when I'm doing that, I don't want to replace that authentic face-to-face or that authentic learning that they're doing with their hands. And as we heard Gary this morning talk a lot about, it's really, really important that when we're thinking of what our students are doing in terms of work inside and outside of our classrooms is not so much about the skills, but it's about what are we doing to help them create and design things that are important to them through their everyday experiences. So kindergarten, it's easy because everything that we do is hands-on, everything that we do. So their conversations, the oral language that comes out, is there all day long. We're talking all day long. And some of the ways that we make this happen are turning and talking. We use mathematical dyads a lot in our school. So Romay, do you want to talk a little bit about what a mathematical dyad is?
A mathematical dyad is where you face and talk with somebody, and partner A is the first one to talk, and partner B has to reverse it, and then he can talk, or she, and then partner A reverses it, and then the teacher might ask us to tell us what we've talked about.
And it's always around a mathematical idea. So the mathematical dyad is a little different from turning and talking because there's always some kind of a mathematical focus. So we do that through face-to-face conversations, through reading out loud, and also reflecting and sharing. And again, conversations are really, really important. I am not here to tell you that I use technology to replace any of that. I do not. I do the complete opposite. I use technology to help enhance and enrich the conversations that are presently happening inside the classroom. So some of you are saying, okay, that's really great, that sounds great, but like, how do you do that? What are the tools? So when I'm talking about synchronous, what I'm talking about are conversations that are happening in a group where there's a lot of people together. So think about that in your own classrooms. You know, we have this happen all day long in kindergarten. So for me, I was thinking about what would be some really great tools that I could use to kind of help capture those conversations and then enrich them by sharing them, by providing an audience where other people would have a chance to not only watch and listen, but maybe respond or interact with the things that we're learning and exploring. So in kindergarten, we use Google Hangout a lot. Near the end of this presentation, I'm going to be inviting 3 parents. One is a former parent. We're going to be using the platform we're using is Google Hangout, and they will be sharing with you from a parent perspective the importance of using synchronous tools in school. And then also we can do this through chats. We use Skype a lot in our classroom as well, and face-to-face conversations. And Noah, do we have, what do we do with Skype and Twitter? Do we just sign in and out all day long, or do we leave it on all day?
We leave it on,
We leave it,
all day.
we do. And Noah, what happens when someone calls us on Skype? How do we answer the call when someone calls?
We push the middle button.
And then what do we say? What do we say? You say, if you were going to answer, you would say, hi, I'm Noah in Vermont. So whoever the leader of the day is, that's how we answer the phone
And
call.
whoever's also the leader of the day can push play on Go Noodle.
Can push play and go, Noodle, you betcha. So right away, right at the very beginning, I am modeling explicitly how to use the synchronous tool in a kind, safe, and responsible way. In our school, we're a PBIS school, so we have 3 simple rules: to be kind, safe, and responsible. So what I do prior to school starting in terms of getting my parents ready and their kids ready for this culture, because it is a pretty interactive culture, and I do use a lot of technology. So much about Twitter, but Skype is, I say, so for the first 3 weeks of school, I want to intentionally set up at least 3 calls a day from parents. And I give them the days of the week and the times. And then I'll say to them, this is the question that I want you to ask. How's it going in kindergarten? Very open-ended. They call, they ask that question, and then the children have right away they have an opportunity to practice. How do you answer Skype? As Noah demonstrated for you, we always say our name and what state we're from. And then they have a chance right away to start beginning to use this synchronous tool in a safe, kind, responsible way. When you're using tools like this, you can't just say, okay, we're doing this great literature project and we're going to blog about it. The children really, your students are going to need opportunities exploring with that and experience it as well as their families ahead of time. So by doing this authentic, very kind of scripted, explicit instruction and opportunities before school, before we kind of get into the year too much, I have an opportunity to teach online etiquette. I have an opportunity to teach my students when we get a Skype call what is expected for everybody else in our classroom culture. So right away on the first day, we model this. And I have to tell you, for now, this time of year, the kids are these tools are not a disruption. They're part of our classroom, they're part of our culture, because we have been modeling them in regards to our learning as well. So it's really, really important. The asynchronous tools that we use are KidBlog. I'm in my 4th year of using this with my students, and Noah, I'm going to have you talk in just a second, okay? And with KidBlog, it's asynchronous because it's really an individual way to reflect and share and connect. However, we do share our KidBlogs with other classrooms, and we do comment on theirs, and they also do leave comments on ours. In kindergarten, we call this compliments. And I have to tell you, for the students, I think the biggest thing for them, and they can also speak to this, is once they're used to going in and accessing KidBlog on an iPad and creating their posts, they understand what a post needs. It needs a title, it needs a picture and text that goes with the picture, and their words always have to be kind, safe, and responsible. And they're independent at this point of the year as well. Then they understand, and then I will email parents and say, we just posted today. Can you please go in and post a compliment on your child's KidBlog and at least 3 other children in the classroom? And then I will also go through and leave a comment on them as well. And then the next day we have an opportunity to read each other's compliments. And I have to tell you, I think one of the things that they really like a lot about KidBlog is reading what people have to say. are the compliments and the comments. And again, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help my students understand this whole idea of perspective and audience. And there are lots of other amazing kindergarten teachers in the world, and they are doing something just like we're doing. And so by us modeling this and sharing our voice, we get positive feedback. And that feedback or that interaction that we're having with this asynchronous tool is always really, really positive. So they're really excited to say, oh my gosh, Mrs. D, aren't we going to make a post about that? I'm like, yeah, we could post about that. So it doesn't become a have-to. Anyway, so Romay, do you want to tell everybody, Noah, come on over here. Do you want to tell everyone, why did we make this? Do you want to hold that up and tell everyone what that is?
It's about how to get on Twitter. We made this because if we forget to know how to get onto Kidlife, all the instructions are in here.
Can I hold it up just to show them? You did a really nice job. You know, how are we ensuring that all of our students have equal access to all the material? How do they have equal access to all of the conversations that we're having inside and outside of our classroom? And if it's difficult or if it's a struggle, then what do I need to do as a teacher to help make that happen or make that available for all my students? So this was just a real easy book, and I am really, really lucky, I need to say this, in my school. We have iPads. We're very, very fortunate. I understand that, you know, in my community, we have a lot of resources available to us, and I know that's not everywhere. I wish it was. That's one of the things I think as a state, they need to change. Everyone needs equal access to all these cool tools. But anyway, because iPads are in our school and they're available to me all the time, I'm really teaching my kids very easily through just really simple words, what you touch. So everything is touch. Here's a picture, touch this. Here's a picture, touch that. I mean, it's very, very simple. But yet, visually, it really helps give them a guide in terms of what they need to do. Because again, I'm thinking of ways to help my students be able to create and design ideas that they have in regards of their learning. But in order to do that with tools, I have to model explicitly how to use those tools. And how can I do that in a way to help them become independent? Because really, me talking at them and saying, oh no, we do this, this, and this, just, you know, auditorily is not going to help them learn to become independent. We have to think about a variety of ways that we do that. The other thing that we use, Noah, come on over here. The other thing that we use a lot is blogging and also Padlet. And I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to let, Romay's going to talk a little bit about this. And before she does, do you want to stand over there on the side, Romay, so people can see? Thanks, sweetheart. I need you to stay right here, thanks. We had, again, I use Twitter a lot to have conversations with other classrooms and other people. I do that also professionally on my own, but also with my students. And I think one of the really great things about Twitter is that we have learned how to make friends outside of our classroom in a safe, kind, responsible way. So on Twitter, one of the classrooms that we connected with was a kindergarten class in Seoul, South Korea. So we were just tweeting one day and they started following us, and this woman also followed me professionally, and she said, hey, do you want to do something together? And I said, oh my gosh, yeah, I'd love to collaborate. You know, what could we do? And she said, well, I don't know how we're going to do this because we're asleep when you're awake and vice versa. And I said, do you know about Padlet? And she said, no. So I created a Padlet, and then what happened, Romay?
Then they found the Padlet, and then they just started following it.
And what did we put on the Padlet?
The map of, one of the map, a map of the world.
Our map of the world.